morning, good morning. Welcome to another beautiful Friday morning and another live session of Propulsion Live with me, Francois. Awesome to have you with us. Thank you for joining us live as always. And if you're watching the recording, a massive thank you to you as well. We have really seen some interesting things happen on the show in recent weeks, also really close to that 900 mark. So if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel here on YouTube, if you're over on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever, please head on over here to YouTube and subscribe to the channel so that we can reach that magic 1,000 subscriber mark. We started off on only 76 subscribers in March 2020, and we're already 3 away from 900. So please, it costs nothing, but it does help us quite a lot. So please subscribe. So with that, a very warm welcome to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here. This morning, we have David Kopp talking with us about the latest news. Obviously, the financial planning convention took place this week, but still David is here with the latest news. We also have Norma, who's going to talk about productivity. And then I am going to talk about 5 hard questions you should ask about your practice to really sort of get going, I guess, and to get maybe out of the rut that you may be in, or maybe just that slow growth and you just, what's holding you back? So 5 hard questions. All right, but with that, let's not waffle on. Let's get right into it and head on over to the news studio where David has the latest news for us.
Today's edition of the news. So if you were looking forward to taking out your popcorn and watching the medium-term budget speech on the 4th of November, the speech has been delayed by a week to the 11th of November in order to accommodate the local government elections that will be held on the 1st of November. Now, all processes leading up to the tabling of the medium-term budget speech are indeed on track, and we just need to wait a week longer to hear what it is going to look like. Then we are now in the middle of our 2021 tax filing season, and with filing season comes another scam. SARS had issued a notice warning the public that the phishing attempts are rife with people purporting to be from STARS with a refund for you and trying to get your information. So please, your clients must check details very carefully, and an email from SARS may not be an email from SARS, but from the scamsters. Then on the 1st of November, we are going to the polls to vote for our local government elections. Now, a recent survey by Consulta shows that people believe that municipalities are getting worse at delivering basic services. In a South African Citizen Satisfaction Index, the 8th time that Consulta has done this annual survey, shows that the satisfaction index has dropped to the lowest levels since the start of the survey. The research polled 8 metropolitan municipalities earlier this year, and the results show that they're falling far short of meeting their expectations. So this is an opportunity for South African citizens to go and vote in local government who is going to deliver what they should. Now, Pravin Gordhan, the Public Enterprises Minister, convened a media briefing on Wednesday night, confirming that although we are in stage 4 load shedding, that it should not be disrupting the election process. Now, more on stage 4 load shedding and what's next for the power utility. Well, the City of Johannesburg Mayor Mpho Moerane says that the city is moving ahead in order to introduce its own energy mix to cut its reliance on Eskom. And this was in fact something that we discussed some time ago on the show, that what happens is as Eskom is not able to generate and deliver the electricity, more and more people will be looking to private supply, as the City of Joburg is. So it is work that has been done over the last year or so, and it's not about electioneering on the 1st of November, but it is to show that the city has a plan to show that there is a sustainable power supply for its residents. And lastly, have you considered what your swan song would be? So a survey of funeral directors by Cooperative Funeral Care, as per the BBC, found that the most frequently requested song to play at funerals in the United Kingdom is Always Look on the Bright Side of Life by Monty Python from their comedy The Life of Brian. It managed to beat out Frank Sinatra's My Way. So as part of estate planning, our clients are actually thinking about what songs they will be playing at their funeral. So Francois, thank you very much, and back to you in the studio.
David, thank you so much. Really love that. Yeah, I need to think about my swan song, I guess. I've never done that. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. And we'll see you back soon here delivering the news. And thank you for all the effort. And again, well done on a brilliant conference this week on Monday and Tuesday. I was very privileged to be part of that. Thanks for that opportunity. And also well done to every single person who was involved from the FBI as well as from the conference company. I think it was very, very well delivered, and very proud to be associated. So thank you for that. And with that, obviously, as you know, we head on over to the personal development section, and we are going to Norma. And Norma today is talking about productivity.
Good morning. My topic for today is productivity. So let's define productivity before we get started. Productivity is the effectiveness of the productive effort as measured in terms of the rate of output per unit of input. So that just really comes down to how much do we produce. And I think if we look at productivity through the lens of what we produce, then we would stop thinking that we're productive by the amount of time that we put in, the amount of effort, or maybe the amount of time that we're worrying about getting a task done. So the main aim is to ask ourselves, what is the result that I'm after this 1 hour of work that I need to do? Or what is it that I'm actually trying to achieve? So it's quite interesting to look at people that produce at a really high rate, because there's a direct correlation between the rate at which they produce and their mindset and the way that they think about their capabilities or their job or their position. I also think that we shouldn't be looking at the amount of hours that we work when we are looking at productivity, because we're not taking into account all the time that we actually waste. And the time wasted on thinking or stressing or worrying or really just being confused. We also need to maybe change the questions that we ask ourselves. So instead of saying, I don't know how long this is going to take me to do this task, and instead ask or say that I have 2 hours to complete this task. Because we know that if we give ourselves the allotted time, that's the amount of time that is going to take us to complete this task. So productivity is only measured by what we produce. So you know that if you walk into a store or a showroom and you want to buy something, is that you're not worried or thinking even about the amount of effort or time or hard work or stress or planning or being confused, figuring things out happened behind the scenes. I'm only worried about, can this product, will it work? Will it solve my problem? And do I actually want to buy this product? So we can have this mental shift where we stop thinking about productivity as, in terms of time, effort, and stress, and rather focus on productivity and actually what we're producing. So what I produce in terms of content, of clients, and money, that can reveal my productivity. So I can also produce results which really just then motivates me, and that really drives that momentum and energizes me. And do it from that state instead of doing it from a state where I am putting in all this effort and busy time and stressing, and then I actually am not very productive and I'm actually not even producing. And that just really makes me tired and wears me out. So that is the opposite of what I want when I'm actually producing. Emotions is also worth mentioning here because there's a couple of very useful emotions we can generate for ourselves when we are talking about productivity. And those are things like to have clarity, to be focused, and to be efficient. So clarity, not necessarily knowing steps 1 to 100 to get to my result, but knowing that I can focus on the solution and I don't have to indulge in confusion. And also focusing, spending all my attention on one thing and actually also constraining. So there's a couple of steps that I think is useful that I can offer to be more productive and for us to make it easier to be productive. And one of them is to plan. So we sometimes think that just jumping in and just starting is going to get us quicker to the end result. But planning actually saves us time down the line. So if we spend 1 hour of planning, it might save us 5 hours at the end of the result. We can also use our bigger results and then break them down into smaller steps. And those steps would then be, we can put into our calendar in order to get those small wins to get to the big result. We can also set a time limit on the tasks that we do. So instead of, sometimes we want to perfect things and we don't want to put it out there unless it is perfect. We can set a time limit on it and say that by the end of this time, this is going to be good enough. Because I think a lot of times we're just scared of being rejected or being judged. And that's the reason why we don't put things out into the world. Another one we can do is to stop perfecting ahead of time. So we can start to work towards our result and then only get to the end result, produce the end result, and then only go back and edit and change things to be according to the standard that's appropriate for you. And then lastly is just to clean up our negative thinking. So we know when we are doing all these new things and things where we are out of our comfort zone, that our brain always resists, and that brings up, we want to procrastinate, or that I have something better to do, or I don't feel like doing this. So when we clean up that thinking, we know that, when it's coming, we know how to handle it. So then just to close off is that we can produce as much as we want to from a state that we're energized and it fuels us. And it doesn't necessarily have to wear us down. So we can switch from only consuming, which makes us tired, into producing. And then producing from a place where we plan and that we're energized instead of thinking that it needs to be this pressured last-minute state that we are producing from. And that, at the end, will make all the difference. Thank you. That's what I have for you today, and I hope it's useful. And I'll speak to you again next week.
Thank you very much, Norma. Really appreciate it. Really insightful. I think this is, again, something that was done especially for me. But it's great when these things speak to me. And, hopefully, if you are watching this, that it's also speaking to you. And thank you so much, Norma. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back next week. All right. So with that, before I get into the topic of today, which is 5 hard questions that you should ask about your practice, and possibly even about yourself. I am first going to talk just about a few announcements quickly, very, very quickly. The first thing is that I was on the Financial Planner South Africa podcast, which is hosted by Louis van der Merwe. Louis has been here on the show, episode 49 before, and we work with Louis from time to time. He's also part of PROpulsion Pro as a member, and it was really a great experience to be on the podcast. And I think this is the first time I've really shared my story in this way, although I have shared some of it, but also then my philosophies and lessons and everything else that I've learned. We talk about technology. We talk about a whole host of things in that podcast, so please go check it out. The link is down below here on YouTube, and you can go and look there. Or otherwise, just go search on your favorite podcasting platform for Financial Planner South Africa podcast, and you'll see I'm episode 21 on there. So please go give it a listen and let me know what you think. And maybe, I don't know, you get to know me a little bit better, which is really what I would like. But with that, go and check that out. Then secondly is the Write a Book in a Day Challenge. We've got a date. It'll take place on the 3rd of December, Friday the 3rd of December. And that's going to be a book that we're going to set out to write. And we'll publish more information about that currently. If you are a Propulsion Pro member, you can go and register on the Propulsion Pro platform your interest to participate in writing a chapter or part of a chapter. And that's all you need to do for now. That closes on the 5th of November. So Propulsion Pro members have the first option to be part of this. And then if you do not, or if we don't have enough people to sort of participate in this, we will open it up for others to participate as well at no cost. It is something that we're doing for the industry. So there will be no cost to participate in this challenge specifically. And yeah, we need about 30 people to help us write this book in one day. It's going to be a very eventful day. We're going to broadcast the writing. We're going to do a whole host of things and pop in and out of different places and just sort of share with you what's going on. But that's the Write a Book in a Day challenge. Then the last thing I want to share with you, if you are planning to attempt your PCE exam, the board exam for your CFP certification in February, we are launching a 60-day PCE challenge. It was initially going to be 90 days. We got to pack it into 60 days and get you prepared very well for the next PCE sitting. So if you are interested in that, it is completely complimentary to Propulsion Pro members. So if you are a Propulsion Pro member, you're not going to pay for this. If you are not, the cost of participating in this and to sort of get benefits from preparing for PCE, you know, from an exam point of view, from a practical point of view, from an exercise point of view, from a getting comfortable with the approach point of view, that's going to be 5,500 Rand if you are looking to participate. And we will open up registrations during November. But for now, the other option is obviously to become a Propulsion Pro member. At most, it's 500 Rand a month. It can be as low as 300 Rand a month, depending on the option that you choose. So, yeah, that's the announcements. And with that, I'm ready to sort of talk about today's topic, which is 5 hard questions to ask about your practice. But first, cue the intro. Now, there's obviously many questions that one can ask. And by the way, what do you think about my new poster? So I updated, surrounded by amazing women, one from Star Wars and one from Marvel, Black Widow, and obviously the... now I can't remember her name. That's bad. Anyway, so let's continue. So there's obviously a lot of questions that one can ask about your practice, right? And I think you can start with any questions, but I want to ask 5 really hard questions. And the reason that they're hard is because they are confronting questions. They are questions that require you to be absolutely honest with yourself. This is not questions that you're going to ask to the world and then answer to the world or anything like that. This is for you to go and sit down and just really ask yourself, am I doing this? And considering why this is important. And obviously, if it is important for you, you know, then to start having a plan and to do something about it. I think that's obviously by far the most important thing, is taking action on the things that you identify because of these questions. These questions themselves are not going to lead to a strategy directly, but indirectly, because it's going to give you answers and it's going to put your focus on things that you know are not right. And that's the important part. So that's really what this is about. The 5 questions that I've sort of put together are things that I feel is so important. And what we're not going to talk about is mission, vision, values, ethics, blah, blah, blah. None of that stuff. These are just hard-hitting questions because the things that I want to explore are possibly the things that may be holding you back. And also, just before I get into the 5 questions is, first of all, like, you know, why... or is that, sorry, that all 5 of them are not going to apply to you. 1 question may apply, 2, 3, or all 5. So please don't try and go and say, well, all these things matter to me. Maybe one of them does, maybe none of them do. I don't know, but let's get into them. So let me not sort of keep you in suspense any longer. The very first question I feel that I should be asking of me in my business, that you should be asking of you in your business or your practice is, am I leading by example? And leading by example, like, I have this jokingly way of saying, like, don't do what I do what I say to my kids sometimes. But that doesn't work because they just tend to do what you do and to mimic what it is that you do, whether it's small children or big children. It doesn't really matter. But it sets the tone, right? In the business, everything. If you are the one that does things as well as you can, that delivers every time, you don't miss deadlines, you show up, it doesn't matter what happens, you always upbeat. And it's not to say that it's always going well and you have to fake being upbeat. Showing that vulnerability and authenticity by just showing that, listen, guys, today I'm not having a good day. That's great. It's exactly what we want. It's not to say that you have to be all rainbows and sprinkles and jumping up and down and dancing in the flowers, or I don't know. So it's not about that. This is just setting the tone. When you lead by example, people want to follow the way that you do things. And even if you have only one staff member, I think sometimes we forget that they look up to us, that they need us. So don't forget that. The other thing is that, and obviously if you listen to what I just said, it's that there's a lot of inspiration that can be found in the way that we lead for those that are working with us in our businesses. So it's also a source of inspiration for them when we lead by example. And then sort of the third aspect or the third reason I think why it's so important that we lead by example is that we show the way and the way. So what I mean with that is, you show them the way, like, we're going in this direction. That's where we're going. This is where we're headed. This is where we want to get to. This is what we want to become known for. This is the kind of business we want to have. Come with me. We're going this way. But then also showing them the way of how you do things, how you show up, how consistent you are, how dependable you are, how you stick to your word, how transparent you are. So extremely important to lead by example. So ask yourself that question. Am I leading by example? And the answer may very well be that in this area I do, in this area I don't. So that's fine. Focus then on the areas where you don't lead by example and see what you can do to make that better. But this is a very, very important point. If you want to grow your business, you want to grow your practice. And I'm not talking about maybe building a massive FSP with hundreds or tens or 20s of financial advisors or anything like that. It's really just a matter of, how do you get to the vision that you have for your business? And you have to lead by example if that is what you want to achieve. The second question that you should be asking about your practice is, how am I growing and developing my team? And by growing, I'm not talking about expanding the team. I'm not talking about appointing more people, getting more people, whether it's advisors, admin support, paraplanners. That's not what I'm talking about at all. If you just look at your existing team, just the people that work for you, whether it's one person or 100, it doesn't matter. But what are you doing to grow them, to grow their skills, to grow their confidence, to give them new skills, to be able to give them more responsibility? And how do you make sure that they stay up to date? How do you make sure that when you're not there, they can run the ship? You can only do that when you continuously develop your people. It doesn't matter how much you pay them, how awesome the bonus structure is. None of those things matter. Yes, it's important, but it doesn't matter in the long run. Those things are not motivational. And by the way, so next month, Adam and I are doing another how-to session, and this time about how to motivate your team. And it's one of the things that we'll talk in there about what are the sort of, the things that we think matter and what are the things that really matter. But this is important. So you've got to take them with you to, conferences and sessions and trainings. Take key people with you. Take the right people with you. If you have to take everyone, take everyone. If you have to take one or two people, take them with you. Send them for training. In my years, I can't tell you how often I personally have invited advisor staff to training sessions, things that were customized for that kind of person and for that kind of role. And it's just, no, sorry, I don't let my people go anywhere. I do not let my team go and attend anything. And whether it's social or whether it's learning, you have to let them go and participate. Because you know what the big thing is that they get to meet others. They start talking about the same things that they have struggles with. And I saw this firsthand in all my years, where this was, I'm so frustrated by this. And then another lady or person would go, you know what, we had the same issue. You know what we did? Ba, 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 ba. And right then the problem is solved. So you have to let them out. You have to let them attend. Specifically now that we're going back to more face-to-face kind of things, let them get out, let them participate, let them learn. Send them to the FPI convention. Let them attend the Financial Planning Summit. Don't think that those things don't add value. They bring different thinking, different things like that. So extremely, extremely important. Encourage them to learn. Like, what do they want to learn? Like, and pay for their learning. Say that you'll sponsor them to learn, whether it's a Udemy course or whether it's sending them on something or letting them do a course with me, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. But pay for it. It's to your benefit. You cannot have the sort of view that if I spend all this money, I train them, I pay for their CFP or for their postgrad or their NKF6 or things like that, and then they leave. Yeah, so what? You made the industry better. You made a contribution. So give those people a chance and an opportunity. If it's up to them to pay for these things, they will probably never be able to do that. Or even if they do, it's going to be very hard and put a lot of stress on them because of that. So there's lots of ways to structure that, but you've got to encourage them and then, sponsor their learning. Don't hold back. But also ask them what they want to learn. What is it that they want to know? What's going to make their life better? Whether it's an Excel course or whether it's how to talk on the phone or, how to type better or I don't know, whatever. But ask them what they need to make their lives easier. And whether it's sending them to go do a course on the CRM you're using or, being able to, I don't know, whatever they may be battling with. So important. So a very important question. How am I growing and developing my team on a continuous basis? And how do I encourage it? Because that is so important. The third question is are you exceptional at everything you do? Everything that you deliver to clients, all of that, how exceptional? Is it exceptional? And to what level is it exceptional? Now, I want to share with you this book, and Jonita has been a guest on the show. So Win, How to Succeed in the New Game of Business. It's a book by Roger Harrop and Jonita Foster. You can go check out that episode with Jonita in season 2. And in this book, one of the very first foundation that they talk about if you want to win and succeed in the new game of business, in other words, this new environment, and this was updated during COVID, so it's a very, very new edition, is, that you have to be exceptional, and you have to be exceptional at everything you do. They say in the book that, being average or even just a little better than average is just not going to cut it. It's not good enough. It is not good enough to be able to do that. You got to ask yourself, is it that we do and that we offer the same as what everybody else is offering? Did we look at what we learned over the years when we started in this industry? Is that exactly what we're doing? Is that what we focus on? Am I doing the same as everybody else in my town? Because then you don't stand out. You're average. And average, as we said, is just not going to cut it. To be exceptional, Jonita and Roger goes on to say that if you want to be exceptional, you have to set your own standards. Because if you take standards from everybody else, you're going to be the same. But how do you become exceptional? Set your own standards. Forget about the competition. Forget about what they're doing. Go and say, what do you want to do? Go and talk to your clients and ask them what is what is it that's really missing for them? What is it that they would like? How do they want to work with you? We assume certain things, and I've spoken about this in previous episodes as well. So not going to go to that extent again, but very, very important in order for us to set our own standards. And then coupled with this, it's integrated into this whole thing. If you want to be exceptional, you have to create a memorable customer experience. It's absolutely key. Because when something is memorable, I also spoke about this on the show before, if something is memorable, that is what causes people to talk about you, your business, your services, and all of that. Yes, we complain about people where we are not happy, but we really talk about the ones They did not give us a bad experience because that experience was just what we expected. It was just average. But you do exceptional work, you create a memorable experience, people are like, "Wow, you won't believe. You won't believe." And then they start telling the story. And there's absolutely no better way of marketing your business than that. Then question number 4. Question number 4, are you consistently developing your skills and your competence? And here's a whole host of things. So there's 4 areas that I want to say or share with you that I feel you should be working on continuously. And this doesn't mean you need to be out for a week, you need to be out for a day. But every single day, if you spend 20 to 30 minutes each day on something different, you will be amazed at how much you learn over a year, over 2 years, over 5 years. It is absolutely amazing. But the first thing is obviously technical competence. And I've spoken about this before as well. And again, actually on the podcast that I referred to earlier, we also talk about this where, a lot of people feel like obviously product, we moved away from product. Some people are still moving away from product. Some people didn't know that we moved. That's fine. But then the technical part was the next bit. The CFP being the pinnacle of what you could reach in terms of this. That now has become the ticket to the game. It's what you need. It's an expectation that we know what we talk about. And we outsource those things these days to legal specialists, to paraplanners and that's fine. But you can never get away from the responsibility to actually know tax, to actually know investments, to understand portfolio construction, for example. All of those technical things of estate planning and risk planning and, the buy and sells and the business assurance, the keepers and all those things, we can't get away from that. We need to stay up to date and know what we talk about. Even if somebody else is doing the technical analysis and writing the plans and really knowing what's there, I always believe that if you are taking somebody else with you to a meeting, it says a lot about your confidence, and not in a good way. It says a lot about your expertise. It says a lot about how good you are, and none of that in a good way. So you want to be the only person. Yes, you can take a paraplanner with if they just need to make notes, but you definitely don't want that paraplanner to run the conversation. That is your job. And I know there's a whole host of other things, and I'll get to that in a second. A whole host of other things that we focus on to really just get a deeper understanding so that we have context to the analysis. But we still need to understand the impact of certain decisions, recommendations, advice that we furnish the client. So very important. So technical competence, you got to stay up to date. There's no excuse for that, and we have to work on that consistently. But then also the soft skills. This has become such a big part of what we do. First, it was only matching a product, sort of selling that to a client. Then it became all about the technical part that I just spoke about. But we didn't communicate well with clients. We didn't connect well with them. We didn't get a deep understanding of what they're about and what drives them and what worries them and all of that good stuff. So in terms of soft skills, I talk about things like communication skills. And that communication skills you use in things like videos, newsletters, emails, verbal, any sort of form of communication. That's a very important skill to have. Questioning techniques. How do you question? Ask good questions, ask relevant questions, ask questions that clients won't feel like they're being attacked, that they are really being helped. How do you do that? So that's an important skill to have. Sales. There is no business in this world that will survive without sales. Maybe you're not selling products anymore. Maybe you're not selling, tax planning or something. Maybe you're selling your financial coaching and your financial therapy and your transitionist planning. Maybe that's what you're selling. But at the end of the day, we sell, because selling is about making sure there's a good fit. Selling is about understanding what drives people and that we can help them. And selling is about getting them to take action that is actually to their benefit. That is what sales is about. We are all in sales. There is no business, not even a non-profit, and I said this again in the podcast and on other episodes, that you cannot have a business or make it. Doesn't matter who and what you are. You need to be able to sell. It's how you sell. That is the important part. It's not the fact that you're selling. So that's important. Then obviously marketing, speaking, coaching, all those things for me fall under soft skills. The third thing that you need to be developing all the time is your digital skills and your digital competence. So really knowing and understanding the software you use. Now, I've had so many advisors tell me, like, I don't want to know nothing about the software. You can't be running the business and not know the software and what it's capable of doing, because how do you know if you have a problem, whether your system can solve it or not? How do you go like, oh, but I think this, and then get somebody to go and sort it out and make sure it happens? How do you have conversations and even just know what is possible if you don't take the time to learn your software? So it doesn't matter what software you're using. You got to know it inside out. Very important. Don't say you're going to do the day-to-day typing and the day-to-day planning and all of it in the system, but you got to know what it's capable of. You got to know how it fits into your model. You've got to know what it's able to do for you. That's non-negotiable. Apps, because apps is very, like a utility kind of thing where it's quick. It's on mobile devices usually, and it just makes little things easier, etc., etc. And then also hardware. Like, what can your phone do? This is the iPhone 13, the brand new one. Like, what can this do, right? My iPad, what can it do? In my case, what can I do with my mixing desk? What can this mic do and what can't it do? How do I set up everything to make my life easy and efficient and effective? You've got to know hardware as well. And there's no such thing as like, I am digitally impaired or technologically impaired or disadvantaged or disabled or whatever words we come. It's just simply not true. If a child of 1 year old can work this device, there's no excuse for anyone else. So hardware, getting to know hardware, what's available, what you want to do is just as important. Then the fourth thing when it comes to your learning is, I would ask you, are you part of a community? Something like PROpulsion Pro. Are you part of something like that where you connect with different advisors? There's high quality content, there's events, there's sessions, there's things that you can only get there, and be part of something where you, as a group, move businesses forward. As a group, grow the profession. As a group, support and cheer one another and help one another. So that's important. So that's definitely something to consider as well. Question number 5. Finally, it is, am I spending enough time? Not are you spending time? Are you spending enough time working on your business every week? Every week. This is so critically important. At the FPI convention, somebody was sharing about chartered wealth, and when they started, where the 3 partners would take every Friday to work on the business. That means that's 20% of their time. It's a whole work day out of the week to work on the business. And they have grown that business into 82 people that now work there. And maybe you don't have the same ambition. But the fact of the matter is that if we don't work on our businesses, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get better. You're going to get busier and busier and busier and have less and less and less time, because we don't take the time. And as Jonita actually in that episode that she was on, we spoke about a helicopter day. If you don't have these step out, look at everything, big picture, then it becomes very, very difficult. So the question is, how much time are you spending currently? And whether it's nothing or it's something, but you've got to ask yourself, how much time am I really, truly spending on my business? And on my business doesn't just mean you want to plan things. You want to figure out what needs to be done. You want to come up with a plan or a strategy or something. It's also about implementing that stuff, because that's working on your business. There's thinking about your business, and then there's working on your business. And those two things are not the same for me. So you first need to think, understand, identify, and once you know that, come up with a plan, and then that needs to be implemented. And it's not only up to you. It's obviously you involve your team and all of that, but very important. Ideally, I think you should be spending at least 1 day per week working on your business, 1 full day. And you got to do that with your team, not just you. So sometimes it'll just be you. Sometimes if you've got partners in the business, then maybe it will be with the partners. But so critically important to involve your entire team in this. So once a week, ideally. If you're not spending any time at the moment, or you're spending very little time, I would then say at least 1 day a month to start with, because it can become very overwhelming, because there's a lot that needs to happen from 1 week to the next. And if you don't get into that rhythm, it may be hard. So start with 1 day a month. That's 12 days a year that you spend working on your business. And you can ratchet it up. Like every second week, it becomes 24 days. And then every single month, every single week you go to 52, well, if you take a little bit of leave, let's just say 48 days that you can work on your business. And that's really where we want to get to. So, with that, that's the end of today's show. So we haven't got a very long show, only 40 minutes. So giving you 20 minutes to go and enjoy your Friday. And go vote on Monday. The 1st of November 2021 is voting day here in South Africa. Go and vote. Thank you very much for joining me, for being here. Please remember to go check out PROpulsion Pro and connect with me on LinkedIn or anywhere else that you can find me. Listen to the podcast and go watch the other episodes that we have available. Alrighty, so with that, thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, stay warm, and remember to always raise the bar. Bye-bye.